Hello, I'm Michael Gale with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and today I'm with Dr. Gabriela Chavarria, the Science Advisor to the Director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Morning, Gabby. Thank you so much for being with us.
No, thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me here.
Can you talk a little bit about what your role is as the Science Advisor in the Fish and Wildlife Service?
Well, my role is, to bring, sort of like the most of today's science to all of the different activities that happen across the Fish and Wildlife Service. Coordinate with our biologists, coordinate with our science committee, coordinate with all of the different scientists and biologists that work across the Fish and Wildlife Service.
And so why did you get involved with the refuge system vision process?
One of the pieces of the vision was about inventory and monitoring, which is a critical piece in science and is a critical piece for our national wildlife refuge system. The whole diversity of talent that were at the table, and what fascinated me most is that we're all young, enthusiastic, and looking into the future, looking into the new generation of what this vision is going to give us. And not only to the refuge system, but as a Fish and Wildlife Service as a whole. And I think, going through this process and the fact that you guys brought different pieces from all of the organization, brings a lot of validity and credibility to the whole process.
So speaking of talented people, we have thousands of talented employees all across the country in the Fish and Wildlife Service. And I was wondering if you could, from your perspective, talk about what's in it for them.
Well, I hope that everybody gets involved because we care for the work that we do for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and for the mission of the service. We need to get involved in, aspects and opportunities like the vision is giving us, so that way we see that our work will carry on.
I wonder if you could talk about maybe the role of partners in the future of the refuge system or in the future of science and conservation.
I mean, it's critical. After all, the refuges were created for the American public. And the American public is, from hunters and anglers to people that work in nonprofits, to us, to scientists that, that come and do work in our national wildlife refuge systems. So without them, we couldn't do the work that we do.
And we definitely need people to get involved. So the best way to get involved is go to www.americaswildlife.org, sign up for the social network and the website, and be sure to let us know your comments by Earth Day. That's April 22nd. Gabby, can you talk a little bit about the landscape conservation cooperatives or the LCCs and how they fit into the vision?
The program basically brings science to the ground. We created 21 geographical regions all across the United States. And we created, very autonomous and independent entities that bring partners together, which we said, they're critical to any success. It brings federal agencies, it brings the scientific community at the local level to discuss and present, their science needs. Every region of this country is different. Every partner is different. We all, our own cultures, our own issues, they vary from region to region across the country. So we needed to create something that was specific to each of the different regions.
So Gabby, I was wondering if we could get to know you a little better. I was wondering if you could talk maybe about how did you first get into conservation?
Well, I am Mexican by origin, so I grew up and I was raised in Mexico. And I grew up in a very Catholic, very strict family. So biology wasn't really, something that, it was taught in my family. But my mom does remember that, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I will go and steal her needles from her needle kit. And then I will go to the windows in the house and pin all the flies. And then I will bring them back and pin them back in her, cushion. And that just, stuck in her mind. And I was always, fascinated by the little crawly creatures. And about age 6, 7, when I was already in elementary school, I had a teacher that, and I still see her face today because she will always stamp your homework with a little B and saying hard work when you did a good homework. And I was, that's when I started to be fascinated by bees. I'm a bee lover. I'm passionate about bees. And, I did my undergraduate degree in Mexico at the National University. and did my undergraduate degrees on the Africanized honeybees, and then my doctoral work on bumblebees. So I'm really a bee lover. So I really, I appreciate the role of, the charismatic megafauna, but I've always been more attracted to the non-charismatic, to a lot of like what I call, the unheard heroes of nature. Because, the services that, insects like bees provide to us are just, incredible. And without them, we wouldn't be here.
Gabby, thank you so much for not only your time today here in the studio, not only your time today here in the studio, doing for the Conserving the Future vision process, which really is for the next generation process, which really is for the next generation. So thank you so much. And for folks who want to get involved, again, the website is www.americaswildlife.org.